And welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs. That man over there, he doesn't need any introduction. That's the wild man, Chris Wilds. Chris?
Hey, what can I say? I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Oh, really?
That's right.
You're styling, profiling, doing all
Uh,
those good
I
things.
can't woo. The Nature Boy is my dude, but he likes that team up north. I can't woo anymore.
Yeah, he also likes Tampa Bay, apparently. I saw that the other night on Monday night. Um, anyways, we have a new AD, Chris.
We
A
do.
new athletic director. So it did not take Walter Carter Jr., the new president of Ohio State, very long to make his first hire as president of the university. And he went a different direction than anybody was expecting. This thing happened fast. Word
Yeah.
kind of leaked out at the beginning of the week that there was going to be a new possible AD hired, and it was this guy from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Huh? On nobody's radar. Okay. No experience in the Big Ten, not an Ohio State guy. And then within 24 hours, boom, he's hired. And then 24 hours later, we get the introductory press conference where we're informed that Gene Smith is still the AD until June 30th, and then come July 1st, that is when we will officially have a new athletic director at Ohio State, one Ross Bjork.
York.
Your thoughts, Chris, and then we're gonna dive into more of the minutia, more of the details here in just a minute. But your initial thoughts of one Ross Bjork.
Well, this is the thing. First of all, let me commend the new president of the university for just attacking this. I think it was a great move to get somebody in there quickly. Um, I don't know whether this is his particular hire or somebody he's got a long relationship with or not, but some positives about Bjork. He definitely knows how to throw that NIL money around. We saw that with his experience down at Texas A&M, where they bought what we thought would be the best team on the field there for a while, but didn't quite turn out that way. Now, what does scare me a little bit, Eric, is the fact that this is a guy who was involved with giving Jimbo Fisher a big contract, which had to be bought out 2 years later.
He didn't hire Jimbo.
He did
He
not hire him, but he was
gave him the
responsible for the
extension,
extension.
and then also for the firing.
So he definitely, this is one thing I will say. He's got the guts to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
Because if you're going to pull the trigger with $75 million still on the line,
on both ends.
yeah, I think that kind of, for me, I think that tells me that Ryan Day is on the hot seat a little bit. Just because they brought somebody in who's not going to be afraid to make the moves that need to be made. However, that being said, I also know that Ohio State University is as great as our boosters are, as phenomenal as our NIL collectives are starting to become. We don't have $75 million to be paying out a bad extension either.
No, because we want to pay the players when
we want to pay the
championships.
players. That's right. So, I guess I'm a little torn on this hire. I guess is the best way to put it.
That's
It,
fair.
it scares me a little. I kind of want to see what he does. I kind of want to see, what kind of obviously money he's able to pull together, because that is a big part of his job is getting that money into the university. And then I want to see how he distributes it. Like I said, obviously at A&M, he had that oil money to play with, and he was not hesitant to put that money down. He was not hesitant to pay the players. He was not hesitant to reward Jimbo. But at the same time, I'm a little scared because we don't have that much money. Is he going to be able to manage and do what needs to be done with a lesser budget?
One of the aspects of not having that much money is the fact that we double the amount of sports we have at Ohio State compared to what they had at A&M.
Correct.
So he has to be not necessarily that we have less. He has to be more wise with it.
Right.
And I think, there was one of the reporters asked a question to President Carter about that. And on those lines, like, hey, this is the same guy who had the $75 million buyout of Jimbo Fisher. And his answer was, we spoke about that. And I believe that this man has learned from a lesson from those things. What was interesting about this press conference as well was the fact that coach, or not coach, but AD Bjork spoke very glowingly of Ryan Day, very
Yeah.
glowingly. Now I don't. Here's my tin. You got a tinfoil hat, and we got to put a tinfoil hat on. I believe his hiring was under the guides and pretense from Gene Smith that he will not fire Ryan Day for at least another season. That doesn't mean he can't be fired after next season, but I think there's no way that Ryan Day gets fired in the next until after the next season. There's no way. And that obviously, right? If he's going to get fired already, he'd been
It would have
fired.
already happened because you're not going to.
But
You.
I think there might be you give him maybe 1, if not 2 years. I know you're saying
If he
no.
needs to go 2 years, then both of them need to go again.
Well, I agree. I agree. Now, I don't think the same can be said for Chris Holtman. I think he is, and I know this is a football podcast, no one cares about basketball, but that guy is on a tailspin again in January,
Every
and
year, as soon as we hit January, the Big Ten schedule kills him.
I don't know how he survives this another year. If he's literally given another year just simply because Gene Smith's a lame duck, then we got issues. But
I see that
back,
happening though, Eric. I really do.
it's a very good possibility. Back to Bjork here. So my initial reaction, I think it's kind of mixed. Now, first off, can I say this? I think Coach Carter. Gosh darn it, it's a late night. I think President Carter is awesome,
I agree.
hands down. The best president in just 3 weeks I would think Ohio State has had. Now, I liked the last president. I thought she was really good too for the athletic
Yes,
programs.
President Johnson, right? Yeah.
Yes, Johnson. Um, but I think this guy has got a killer instinct as a president. He's a no
Well, Eric, he
nonsense
was
guy,
a killer.
literally, right?
Literally.
So I love the dude. I really do. So I'm going to give his first hire the benefit of the doubt because I believe in President Carter. Now, we're going to hold AD Bjork to a high standard, but let me ask this question. Did Ohio State upgrade at AD? Because now you're comparing someone's track record from where he's been before, how he's climbed the ladder, given he has not had all the necessarily all the resources at those places, compared to what Gene Smith has done in 19 years at Ohio State. Did we upgrade?
I think it's yet to be seen, Eric, but this is what I will say. I think given the new, I guess the new normal in college football with the NIL, the collectives, yeah, I think he's better equipped to handle it than Gene Smith. Um, I do feel that he's an upgrade there. Of course, we're always going to hold 2012 against Gene Smith.
Bingo. You got to look at national championships, right?
Yep.
You got Gene Smith. We won 2 national championships with 2 different coaches under the leadership of Gene Smith. And
Yes.
I will forever hold the 2012 debacle is that man's fault right there. That should have been national
And
championship year. And the fact, I still believe, until my dying breath, I will believe that Jim Tressel fell on the sword for that man right there.
absolutely, without a doubt, I don't think it's any question. Um, so this is the thing. If you look at the numbers, if you look at the championships as a whole, that Ohio State, not just the football program, not just the big sports, but the Olympic sports, if you look at the number of championships that have occurred under Gene Smith, I think you could be a little thinking to yourself, why? Why did we kind of step down to this guy who doesn't have all of this?
Well,
But
first
like you
off,
said, Eric, he has not had the talent. He's
some of
not had
those
all those teams.
Chris, some of those national championships are in sports where there's literally 4 or 5 other schools
Correct.
in the country that play that sport.
Like
Okay.
synchronized swimming or something, that's.
Yes, we've won 27,
But
28
that's what
straight.
I'm saying. A person could misconstrue
Yes.
the numbers when they see, well, Gene Smith's got all these championships. Why are we taking a step backwards? Are we taking a step backwards? I don't think so. I really don't. I kind of get the feeling that we've got. I'm trying to keep it family friendly here, but I kind of feel like we got an AD and a president now who have a set, shall we say?
Yes.
And
That's fair to say.
they're going to go to the mat, I believe, for the athletic department at Ohio State. Um, Obviously, Bjork has great experience at raising money. And I know, people talk about the Texas oil money. We don't have Texas billionaires. We don't have you know what? We don't have Texas billionaires, oil billionaires. But you know what we got? We've got the Wexners. We've got all these big time donors. And yeah, it's great that we've got all these great facilities that they're putting their names on. But let's divvy up that dough a little bit, get some back in the pockets of these players and get them coming in. I think he's somebody who can do that.
Well, he definitely talks like that. Um,
And I'll tell you
he
what, I'm just kind of sad that he's not taking over now because there's a safety out there on the board that I think we would land in a heartbeat if he was running this.
maybe. I still think George is in the driver's seat for that. Um, when he took the podium, he made a comment that I loved. He said, "Football's king."
Yeah.
Yes. Gene Smith would never do that. Gene Smith always Gene Smith was always very politically correct.
You know what?
Always.
Yeah, you're right. And I say screw the political correctness, man. Let's throw it
Right.
out the window. If there is no football program, if football is not the king program, then you don't have 30 Olympic sports programs because you don't have the money coming in to support them.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's give some recognition. And I'm not saying we take away from those other teams and their titles. I'm not saying we take away from those other sports, but let's realize which side the bread is buttered on.
Right. The other thing I loved was when President Carter was asked about, Ohio State and their role within the conference and college football, and he basically stated that um, having flexing your muscle, I think is the term he
Yeah.
used, flexing your muscle instead of playing nice. I mean that.
Well, let's not forget, Eric, this is the guy who at Nebraska was the first one to flex his muscle during the COVID outbreak.
Right.
He was the first one to go to bat and say, no, we can play football games. We can make adjustments as needed, but we can play football games.
Yeah. So I think that having that kind of leadership is a great 1-2 punch. I think President Carter gives Bjork the confidence he would need to, I think, rule with a little bit more of an iron fist than what Gene Smith did. I also think that he's going to be incredibly charismatic in front of the people who matter the most, which are the
Yeah.
donors. Here's
Could you
I
imagine these two guys with Urban as head coach, though?
I
I
think
think
we're
there would be a.
maybe, but I also think there might be multiple championships there.
I don't disagree with that either.
And I love how he talked about, they asked, there was a question asked about expectations um, for his coaches, and he says the expectations are championships, plural.
Yeah.
So the guy is not, he might not be an Ohio guy, but he's an incredibly uber competitive dude. Here's all you need to know, guys.
Well, do we
He
have where he's from?
Kansas.
Okay, so he's not. I thought if he was from Texas, that would explain a lot.
No, his grandmother was from Ohio.
Okay.
So he would visit Ohio, Findlay area, Hancock County.
Okay.
So farm country, right? So he said his mother and father would take trips to Ohio to be with the family, and so he has fond memories of the state of Ohio. Is it being from Ohio? No. But I believe that this guy is uber competitive
Yep.
and he wants to win and he's going to hold people to a standard. He was asked about, do you know about the rival, the team up north? He made a boo boo. He mentioned the word with the M. He called him that word, but I don't think he cares like that. He's like, I just care about winning. I don't care about your little sayings. I don't care about your little games. I don't care about crossing out the letter M. He didn't say these things, but you could kind of tell he was like he's a no nonsense guy. That's for you guys. I'm about the dub. Just give me the dub. I like that.
Hey, I'll take it.
I like that.
I'll
So,
take it over somebody who says it's just another game.
yeah, exactly. So, is it an upgrade from Gene Smith? I think it is. I
I think
do.
time will tell, but I do believe so as well.
I think it's an upgrade from Gene Smith, and I'm not bashful to say it's because I think Gene Smith in a lot of ways held Ohio State football back sometimes, a few times. And I still believe Ohio State should have, under the right circumstances, won at least two more national championships while Gene Smith was here, if not three. Guaranteed 2012 absolutely would have been, right? But, that at the end of the day, like he said, football's king. And when you're not crowning the program king that should be crowned king, then that falls back on you.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be. I don't think he will be bashful to pull the trigger on firing Ryan Day.
No,
I don't.
I don't think he will either because I mean you saw he got a high profile coach in Jimbo go. He kicked him to the curb,
Hmm.
paid him out 75 million, and the other thing is he's a guy coming in who has no allegiance or attachments to Ryan Day.
Right.
That's a huge part of it. Um, do I want to see Ryan Day right this? Now, see here we go, and I got to touch on this because I catch so much crap about how critical I am of Ryan Day.
Right.
I don't dislike Ryan Day. I really don't. I think he's probably a great guy, and I've said it before. The guy somewhere up in there at one time was an offensive genius. He's gotten conservative. He's I don't know whether it's he's thinking too much, whether he's afraid when he's out there of making a mistake. But I like Ryan Day, and I'd love to see him, you know, turn this thing around. But at this point, I'm not willing to wait and watch another loss to Michigan. That's all.
I think the other thing that to speak to that, Chris, um, Mr. Bjork also spoke that he believes that Ryan Day can get the job done. I like how he worded it. I believe he can get the job done. I think whenever you see a new person like this comes in, who's your boss? This is Ryan Day's boss. Okay. So you have a new boss now. Like in the back of your head, you're probably thinking, "Uh-oh, is my time numbered?" I like that he gave Ryan Day confidence. I
Yeah.
believe in you. I believe you can do it. Because if I don't want Ryan Day going into this season thinking this is my last year, I'm going to get fired. I also don't want him thinking I'm never going to get fired. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
want him to feel some pressure because I think he might coach better under pressure. You know, that seat's hot. It's time to win, Ryan. And if he attacks this season like he has strategically, surgically attacked this roster so far in the month of January, Chris, we are embarking on what might be a national championship run for Ohio State in 2024.
Well,
We're going to
I
we're
still
going to
can.
have
Yeah.
one of the best 3 or 4 rosters in the country.
Oh, without a doubt. But you know what, Eric? I would contend that the last few years we've had one of the 3 or 4 best rosters in the country, and while we've had the best, maybe 3 or 4 best individual rosters in the country, we have not had the best team in the country.
Correct. That's
We
correct.
we have somewhere lost that team chemistry, that team philosophy, that team culture,
But let's
and
let's
that is
let's
why you have teams like that team up north winning a championship this year. Well, that and the Magic Flipboard.
all right, one more analogy real quick. The team up north, their AD went
Yeah.
to bat for their head coach.
Oh, constantly.
I think we're going to see a level of that this year from a new guy. Now, Gene Smith's going to bat for Ryan Day was soft. It was putrid.
It was
It
him
was
saying, "Oh, it's only one game." That was him
exactly.
going to bat.
This guy is going to bat by saying, "I believe Ryan Day can do it. I believe this guy can do it." Meaning, let me interpret that. You better do it.
Yeah,
You better get it done. I'm
that's
watching
exactly
you.
right.
Please like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you doing that. We're 10, Chris. 10. That's all we need. 10 more subscribers to reach 1,000.
What's
If you
wrong with you people?
if
Hit
you haven't
the like, the subscribe.
if you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, man. You don't even have to hit the bell.
No,
Although I prefer you hit the bell.
Eric, I
But
disagree. They're not doing you a favor. They're doing themselves a favor.
that's true. That's just true. We go live every Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, with guests, sometimes former Buckeye players, like this Sunday.
Yeah.
This past Sunday, Master Teague the Third was with us. It's a great time, great show. We always have a good time with all of you in the chat. Don't miss it. Live this Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here on the OHL podcast. And you can make sure that you don't miss it by subscribing and ringing that bell. Please do that. Chris, till next time, OH,
I O.
go Bucks.